it was the Thanksgiving Day parade. We had to be there. We had to be there. My dad would drag us to downtown, even if we didn't want to go because it was too cold or it was rainy. We would have to go see the parade. He would make sure that he would take some lawn chairs sometimes, and he would make sure that we got to see Santa and that last float.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Spotlight Houston, where we bring you the best of the people, places, and events in Houston. This week, the team behind Spotlight Houston sits down to talk about our Thanksgiving Day traditions, from what we did as kids to how we celebrate today. And now your host, Blanca Quezada.
Hi, everybody. Hope you had a great holiday. Hope you enjoyed it and hope you've recovered from it. And hope you're also liking the weather. It's nice and crisp. And and it's been a lot of fun for me. A lot of work, but a lot of fun. But today I've decided to invite my best friend and Spotlight Houston's producer, Sandra Fernandez. Welcome.
Thank you.
We are going to share with you our Thanksgiving holiday experience, which two different types of experiences, but both fun either way. And of course, I'm first generation. In Mexico, Thanksgiving really isn't celebrated for obvious reasons. But when my family came to live here in the States, they adopted it because they thought it was a great holiday just because it was a way of giving thanks, to be grateful for what we had and to have fun with the family and to be able to give, like I said, give thanks for all the blessings that we had. What we do is we gather and we say a prayer and remember family members that unfortunately are not with us any longer. But if you go to Mexico, though, you'll only probably find expats that are celebrating Thanksgiving wherever they're living in Mexico because they can find American type foods over there as well. And then, of course, it gets blended with the traditional Mexican meals as well. And in Mexico, the holiday is called Acción de Gracias. So, Sandra, I know that your family loves to party. They're great bunch of people. They're fun. But I don't know if your family does the traditional turkey with the traditional side dishes. What does your family do?
What we do has evolved a lot over the years. I remember as a kid, and we did Thanksgiving dinner with the traditional turkey and the traditional sides every year. And it was just the immediate family, but we did it every year. And when I was in college was the first time I was in charge of Thanksgiving dinner because that year my mom was in another city because my grandfather had a stroke. And she was over there with my grandmother and my grandfather. And I was in charge of Thanksgiving dinner. And it was, when do I thaw it? And how do you cook a turkey? And it was a lot of stress. It turned out okay. But as we got older and my siblings married and there were in-laws and then there was a larger extended family, Thanksgiving became this much bigger production. And so every year we would invite people over and we would have at least one turkey plus additional meats, lots and lots of sides, multiple desserts. That was what I was in charge of. I would make the desserts and I cheesecake with crushed pineapple and death by chocolate cake and
Oh
cupcakes,
my goodness.
raspberry cupcakes with cream cheese frosting. And I got real elaborate, honestly.
Yeah,
There
and
was
I know you can
one
bake. I know
year
you can bake and you can cook.
so there was one year where we had, I think, like 35 people over, and it was a small house. And that continued for quite a few years, actually. And then my dad, who had Parkinson's. He went to go stay at a care facility, and he really wasn't up to the large Thanksgiving. So that's when we started to cut back, part down a little. And as his disease progressed, we started changing how we did things. And so what we would do is we did an early Thanksgiving with him so that when he was tired and ready to go home, we would done all the ceremony stuff. And then later we would have friends over for dessert and coffee and stuff like that. Or we would do something a little bit more. But that's when we started to par down significantly. By the time he passed away, it was just immediate family, and that was it. As the years have passed, because it's been a while since he passed away, actually, we've gone through and we've simplified Thanksgiving so much. We don't even cook a turkey now. Not in my in house where I live. We actually buy turkey and a brisket from a local barbecue place in the Houston area. We got some great barbecue.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
we make side dishes. Somebody brings a pie or two, or somebody buys or makes a pie or two. And so we try and keep it as simple as possible. And honestly, none of us have ever proposed going back to the big elaborate, let's make let's make the turkey, let's do the big, lots of desserts, let's have people over, because just even thinking about it makes me tired, honestly.
Mhm.
And I hear people who are doing that, and they're so exhausted afterwards. And it's fun. We had a lot of fun doing it, but we're at a place now where we prefer the simplicity and the quiet and the just a family and actually giving thanks.
Yeah, it's exhausting just to even think about everything, the whole production. When I was younger, my parents, when they had the Thanksgiving holiday meal at home, it was about 25 people, not a whole lot.
To consider not a whole lot.
Yeah, not a whole lot. And so we all, my sisters and I, would get together, help my mom out, and we'd all bake or cook something. And of course, the turkey was always in the oven. And of course, we never knew whether it was going to be done or not because we really didn't know how to do it. So
My mom always cooked hers low and slow. Like it cooked low all day, but it came out so moist.
basically, we just said a prayer and we put a lot of butter on it to make sure that it was going to look good and taste good. And then we would stuff it with oranges and lemon and I think it was also papaya and stuff. It was just we didn't like I said we really didn't know what we were doing and oh yeah and onions I forgot onions. We really didn't know what we were doing, but we figured it was going to taste good anyway. And fortunately we would get lucky that the turkey would turn out fine. But again, we had to put the Mexican spin in the meal with Mexican side dishes like the rice and the beans and the tortillas. You have to have the turkey tacos and salsa and sometimes some mole sauce eh, and even carne asada to everything that is regular Mexican food combined with the turkey, right? And the cranberry sauce and the mashed potatoes and the green bean casserole. It was a mixture of things. And then we just be making up stuff and just laughing and having a good time. And of course, football games. But if there were soccer games and they'd be watching soccer games, all the guys would get together and watch. And then like you, lots of desserts. But of course, we didn't make them. We bought them because none of us really knew how to bake except one of my sisters. And she always made the pumpkin bread. And it was delicious, but that was it. But all the other desserts, pies and all that we bought. But it was a lot of fun just getting together. Just like I said, everybody, we did go around the table. That was one thing. We did go around the table expressing what we were grateful for. And so that was a nice tradition. And we still do it. We still do it. And even though my parents aren't around anymore, unfortunately, we lost them. My mom last year and my dad a couple of years ago. But now we get together at my brother's house. Now, my brother's family is another story. they, they are into theme parties. And so their home is like Thanksgiving throw up in there with all these decorations and music and stuff. And sometimes they even hire a DJ to, to be out there. And we have dancing and all kinds of crazy things. And that they make all kinds of food. Again, the blended American and Mexican food together. And of course, barbecue. You gotta have the barbecue. And then again, the guys all get together. That's a tradition to watch either football or soccer games. But and then the desserts. And then with the kids, we always get a piñata. Make sure the kids have fun also. They go out in the backyard with the piñata and they get the candies and they just start bouncing off the walls with all that sugar. But they have a great time chasing each other around and having fun outside. And then they come in and they crash. And they find a space somewhere on the floor or anywhere in the house just to crash. And then the guys with all the food that they eat and they just crash wherever they're sitting at too and forget the football game or the soccer game because they're out of it. But or sometimes, like I said, they get a DJ and we all go outside and we dance and just enjoy the weather if it's a nice day, which was a nice day. A little bit drizzly, but it was a nice day anyway. So that's basically what we do. And it's always a lot of fun, a lot of fun. And but getting together is really what the holiday is all about for us. Just being together, being grateful and really talking about all the blessings that we've had throughout the year. And for us, it's been a very long year and a lot of blessings for
Well,
sure.
one of the things I do miss from the larger celebration was dancing. Because my family, and you've been to weddings and quinceañeras with us, and we like to dance.
Oh,
And
yes.
so it whenever there was a family celebration more than just the immediate family, eventually what would happen is we would clear out the furniture in one of the main rooms and turn on the radio, or somebody would connect one of our phones to a Bluetooth, a speaker, and we would start dancing. And everything from Mana to Selena to everything in the middle. And we would just start dancing. And that would happen a lot for our family gatherings.
Yes.
But so much of Thanksgiving, so much of Thanksgiving is focused on the food, and the food is a big part of the celebration. It's actually, especially, and I know for most families is like this, but in Latino families, whenever there's a celebration, it's all about the food. It's like the different types of stuff, and there's not a lot of side dishes, or there's too many side dishes, but there's all of this care that's put into it to not just great food, but quantity of food. And that's how we show our love.
And then you have
Uh,
to take some home.
and you have to take some home. Yes, absolutely. But culturally speaking, Thanksgiving is every family has adapted their own traditions.
Right.
And the food can be a tradition. A friend of mine, her family, they don't really like turkey. It's dry. That's what they say. It's dry. So the tradition in their family is her grandma makes turkey tamales.
Mhm.
And that's how
Mhm.
they've adapted. It's okay. They don't really like turkey by itself, but she puts the turkey in the tamales, and they have turkey tamales for Thanksgiving, and that's their Thanksgiving tradition. And everybody loves grandma's Thanksgiving tamales.
Yeah.
Um, for us, it was everybody had a dish. Like mine is Mine was the desserts for many years. I was in charge of the desserts. And then eventually, now that we don't do so many desserts, My one dish that everybody wants asks me for, and I've been trying to get out of for years, is a spinach dip that I make. That is literally
Mm.
opening some boxes and mixing and cutting up an apple, and that's it.
I've
But
had your spinach dip before. It's incredibly delicious. So I know
but
what they're
it's
saying.
I really want to be able to make another thing, but everybody loves that, and I make it for Thanksgiving, and I make it for New Year's, and occasionally when there's a special request. That's the traditional Sandra dish. One year, someone I know who had married a family that was more recently arrived to the US, and she hosted Thanksgiving, and she did the thing that we do is she invited all his family to come over, and then she asked them each to bring a dish, as we do in the US. They were all incredibly offended that she invited them to dinner and was asking them to bring their own food.
Oh, no.
That's not the custom in in
Right,
the country where they're from.
right.
To them, she was being rude, or they
Rude.
just didn't understand. And to her, she was just doing the American potluck thing
Right.
that everybody does in the US, but they didn't. So they had that
They had to
disconnect.
explain it.
She didn't know that was an issue until later. But yeah, it was one of
Yeah.
those things where she thought she was just being normal, normal Thanksgiving thing. And they're like, I don't understand. You invited me to dinner. Why are you asking me to bring food? You're supposed to
It
feed
would
me.
be it would be really interesting to find out what other people here in Houston do that are from other countries because Houston is so culturally diverse. It's do they adopt the American traditions or do they blend in their foods and their traditions with the American tradition? It'd be interesting to find out how they celebrate. But one other thing that I was forgetting to talk about was as a kid, it was the Thanksgiving Day parade. We had to be there. We had to be there. My dad would drag us to downtown, even if we didn't want to go because it was too cold or it was rainy. We would have to go see the parade. He would make sure that he would take some lawn chairs sometimes and he would make sure that we got to see Santa and that last float. And then from there, there was a store, a major department store downtown called Foley's. I
I
don't know
remember
if you remember
Foley's.
that store, Foley.
Yes.
Yeah, and it had these beautiful Christmas decorations in the windows. I think what New York does,
Hmm.
where they decorate the store windows with these Christmas themes and so we have to do that. That was a tradition for us too as little kids. But then I don't know what happened, but we stopped going to the parade. But I still watch it on TV sometimes, so
See,
because
I was never a parade person, and I don't know. I don't recall my dad taking us to parades as kids. My mom grew up going to, she tells stories. So I guess my grandfather was a huge fan of parades, and she would go Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Day, New Year's, you name it, they went to the parade. He just loved them.
yeah,
But I
I
love
think
a Thanksgiving Day parade. I love to watch it on TV.
yeah, I think that's probably why my dad would drag us to the parade because he loved them. I think maybe that's why. But once we were there, we would have a great time. And I particularly liked watching the horses go by. They, to me as a kid, a horse was like this humongous thing, humongous animal. So, but it was beautiful. And then of course Santa looked really high up with the reindeer.
Mhm.
And so I did enjoy it once we got there and I stopped being so
Yeah.
cold sometimes because for me anyway, that's the only way that I remember going to the parades when it was really cold. And but that was something we had to do because
Yeah.
my dad had to do it.
Well, like I said, traditions. When my dad was alive and we did the more formal Thanksgiving thing celebration, and he did the carving, and we had all the traditional, the stuffing and the mashed potatoes and gravy and the cornbread that my mom would make and all that other stuff. I don't remember us ever putting a Latino twist on it. Uh, Maybe I'm just not remembering it, but I don't. A lot of my friends, they will tell you they had the carne asada and the salsas and the tortillas and the rice and beans. The closest was my grandma would make her sweet potato empanadas.
Ooh, those must have been delicious.
Oh, those were great. But the year after my dad passed away, for Christmas, my sister got into this nostalgia thing and she decided we're going to make tamales that year. And we hadn't made tamales since I was a kid. I think she'd forgotten how much work it is because
Oh my
tamales are
God,
a
it's
lot of
days of
work.
work.
Yes. We ended up with these monster tamales because we got tired of making the little ones and we never did it again.
I'm sure they were all different sizes.
Yeah. So things that we've tried because we tried. We used to because I got it in my head one year that we were gonna make the turducken, the Cajun turducken.
Oh, yes.
We did that for about 5 years straight until my family begged me not to do it anymore. So for those of you who have never heard of a turducken, it's a turkey stuffed with a duck stuffed with a chicken. Okay, what a turducken is, it's a turkey stuffed with a duck stuffed with a chicken. And yes, that's a lot of meat. And what they do is they debone and butterfly a turkey and they open it up one layer and they put a layer of stuffing and they debone a duck and place it on the stuffing and then they put layer of stuffing on top of the duck. Then they debone the chicken and butterfly it and put it on top of the duck and put a layer of stuffing. And then they bring it up and close it like a ball and stitch it closed to where it looks like a turkey still and freeze it. And you go and you buy it. And it's this big ball of meat. So when you open it, when you cook it and you cut it, it comes out these slices of these three different meats with stuffing in the middle. And it's amazing.
I've
But
never had it. I've never
oh,
had
no,
it.
no. Now I'm gonna to have a Friendsgiving one year and just invite people
Yes.
over.
Yes.
But my family got tired of it after, I think it was 5 years. After 5 years straight, they got tired of it. I learned about it because I used to work with a woman who was from Louisiana, and apparently it's a Cajun thing. And there's a couple of places here in Houston that sell it. And of course, since it's frozen and it's a big ball of frozen, you actually have to start thawing it like a week before because
Oh my gosh.
let's even turkeys and chickens are hollow in the middle. This is not hollow. This
Mhm.
is a big ball. It was
Uh,
heavy. It was so good though,
It sounds like you were creating some kind of meat football.
basically. But the other thing I'm going to mention is the year that we gave in this local bakery called Three Brothers Bakery had this specialty cake that they were selling. So it was three pies baked into three layers of cake.
Oh my gosh.
They took a whole pie and then I think it must have been frozen or something and dropped it into the cake batter and cooked it. And then another whole pie of another flavor into another cake layer and cooked that and cake layer filled with the pie covered in frosting, cake layer filled with the pie covered in frosting. It was three layers.
I have never seen a cake like that before
Oh,
or
I'm gonna have to find the
cake.
photographs for you because it was ridiculous how tall this thing was, and
Oh
we
my
ended up
goodness.
throwing away most of it because
Oh,
it's not. It was like to feed 100 people. Seriously,
it
this
sounds
thing
like a wedding cake.
it looked like it, and before I knew what was going on, my mother had ordered it, and it was delicious because Three Brothers Bakery, but it
Eh,
was just getting it home was just we went to go pick it up. We didn't understand what was going on until we saw the thing like, oh, okay. And even cutting it was, yeah.
What was it like when the first time you saw it?
I was astounded, absolutely. Just astounded. And we
Oh,
never
well,
let her do that again.
no. And oh, it sounds delicious too. It sounds
Oh, it
delicious
was.
because I
It
love
really
pies
was
and I
very
love
tasty.
cakes. Yeah, I
It really
love
was
pies
very
and
tasty.
cakes. Wow, it sounds crazy. But we have kind of crazy families anyways. I want to thank you for joining me and for sharing your family experiences with me and with everybody like I mentioned. And of course, I'd like to invite everybody to share your family experiences, your family holidays with us. See what your traditions are. We want to hear about your traditions. And as always, besides saying thank you again for joining me, please send me your comments as well. And if you have any story ideas, please let me know.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Spotlight Houston, a production of Story Zone Media.